Well, hello everyone out there. This is Charlie Barley, and this is my first video of 2018. Hope everyone has had a great new year. I have a few videos that I will be doing, I'll be doing throughout the year to help bring us all aware to the very thing I'm going to be talking about in this video. And that's net neutrality and what it means to you as an online gamer, gambler, and just what it means to us, period. I don't really think that we are really thinking about exactly the implications that this new law, or excuse me, not so much of a law, but the repeal of net neutrality by the U.S. government under the FCC guidelines, what it means to you and what it means to the world. I'm going to be brief, but before I get started, what I'm going to do is briefly explain to you by this video, which was done right here on YouTube. I'm going to play this video. Once the video's done, I'm going to come back and then I'm going to talk to you about what I think is happening, what I think are the potential hazards. I'm not suggesting that any of what I'm going to say is going to happen. However, considering that I've kind of dabbled, well, I've been in business in the internet age sector for a while, for some years actually. And also I have a really deep banking background, of which I worked in the compliance side, the legal side of banking as a director for one of the third largest banks in the world, HSBC. And it was there that I got a chance to really see how everything is starting to align and operate. Remember the mortgage crisis that caused all of the chaos and people lost homes? All of that was set up. Land is no longer the big value. Information is the big value. You know how people say if you could buy land, then you have value. Well, today it's information. And so the big major banking cartels, which underwrites a lot of most of the top 6 companies that deliver information, these same bankers are on the boards of these companies like AT&T, Verizon, and so forth and so on. And what's happening is that they're shrinking the competition field. It's becoming a pay-to-play system, and basically they're really regulating everything that goes through internet portals in the United States and soon to be the world. So let's look at this video and then I'm going to come back and we'll talk about it.
A lot of people suddenly care about net neutrality, but they don't really understand what it means. So what better way to explain it than over a beer? Let's say the bartender is your internet service provider, like Comcast or Verizon. And these beers on tap, those are the websites. Hey, can you pour me a Netflix? You would expect every website to be served up to you at the same speed, each poured the same. That's net neutrality. And some believe there should be regulations to make sure our internet bartenders treat all web services and traffic equally. Now, they serve that up pretty quick, but what if they didn't? You see, without rules, people fear these internet bartenders may start acting like jerks. They could slow down the flow of one website that they don't like, or block certain sites altogether. Oh yeah, and there's the idea that some websites will pay more to get to you faster. Call it an express spout. I'll have a... Ooh, that was zippy. What, do they pay you more for this? Some people don't think you need net neutrality rules because the market will self-regulate. The bartenders will play nice because they don't want to annoy their customers and lose business. Others say you do need the rules. After all, why does a bartender have to play fair if he's the only bar in town? And there's another issue. Those who control the pipes have incentive to hurt competitors. Comcast owns NBC, Verizon owns Yahoo. The bar would rather serve its own brew. So what can you do? The fate of the internet is in the hands of our government. And it's up to you to decide how you feel about that.
What a ugly scenario we're in. The fate of the internet is in the hands of the government. Friends, let's just now go ahead and admit what we've got on our hands. I'm going to go ahead and tell you what this is about, what it means to you as an online gambler, and what you can do right now to take everything you can while you can. What I'm going to talk about really briefly is what I think is coming next. All right. And as you see in this video, this lady talked about the future of the internet is in the hands of the government. The FCC, which is the Federal Communications Commission. Remember I talked about how information is the new form of power. If you can control information, you can control power. This is why the media companies are so powerful. So as you can see, Verizon, which is mostly a mobile cable provider, now owns Yahoo, an super information highway company, search engine, Yahoo search. So they own them. They own huge portions of how information flows, because if you can flow information, you can sell ads. But more than that, you have what we call domination and control. Wherever the information is flowing, that's where the money is. Okay, it's no longer land like we used to think about it. It's now information. But here is where it gets really, really dangerous. The FCC, the only reason that we have these type of regulations now is because of taxation, power, and control. The FCC, let me go back. The banking world is what controls Washington, D.C. The banking world is what capitalism runs the entire world. The banks run all of capitalism. The banks also finance the main players, as she described in this video. She described, like the bartender, the cabs. You got Verizon, AT&T, Comcast. Well, all of these companies are underwritten by who? The banks. These bankers are on the boards of these companies. So what is this all about? Why are they trying to create all this control? Well, under FCC, the internet used to be what they call a Title I, which means it was just basically, it wasn't a utility until they just passed it December 14th or 15th. If I'm not mistaken. And by the way, and if you don't believe anything I'm saying, just Google net neutrality online gambling posing a threat. This is very serious before I start talking about Title I and Title II. And as you can see, this is nothing. Just go read these articles. You can see how crazy this is getting. But let me just go deeper into this. So you got Title I, which is what the internet used to be. It wasn't a utility. It was free for everyone. Everyone had the same access to everything. Now it's a Title II, which means it's regulated and taxed. Anything of Title II is considered a utility, like a phone bill, like a cable bill. That means that information not only is taxed, but is regulated by the U.S. government and dictated upon by these, as the lady would call the bartenders or the internet service providers. They dictate to them what can go through and what not, or what can't. Or there'll be some type of negotiation as to what can or what can, based upon who's going to be the biggest player. Remember, she described certain players get to have a bigger space than others. Well, that's what's possible because now they can charge. They can charge these companies to be there. Why? Because it's a Title II. It's a taxable resource that's regulated by the U.S. government. Now, what does this mean to online gaming? Number one, understand this. It's a banking cartel. Number one. It's a banking cartel that's running all of this. Everything, every part of your life, it's all about banking. All right. So even when I started developing systems, for example, like permutations and different things of that sort. So if you got that, you learned, I mean, a lot of people knew what martingale was, but a lot of folks don't really understand that martingale comes from the stock market. That's a progression that's used in stocks. Permutations, now, and when I taught permutations and this method, I'm going to talk about really briefly what this means to net neutrality in just a second. So just follow me just a second. All right. So basically what you have here is that you got the stock market, right? Which martingale progressions kind of use a stock market. But if you were to really get deep into this, you use what is called a binary system to create a strategy upon which you trade. This this information is used in stocks. So basically, a lot of companies are betting what you're going to do with your paycheck. They know you're going to get paid Friday, but they're going to bet that you're going to go buy 2 packs of cigarettes and a beer at least once this weekend. So I'm going to put a buck on this company that you're going to go buy it here. I'm going to put a buck on that you're going to go buy some Nikes this weekend at wherever. I'm going to put a buck in that company. And let's just say you don't do any of them, but you do one of them. Well, that one would have made me money, right? That's called a martingale progression. It's used in the stock market. Well, all of this, whether you're betting, you're using this scheme from a perspective of betting and gambling, which is what I showed in Roulette, which is what Matthew is taken to another level with Roulette Recovery, which is not even martingale anymore. It's really just a total smash out of anything that it's just another level of it where you don't have to do all these crazy progressions. My whole point is this information is now being regulated completely, okay, all over the internet. So regardless of the stock market, everything that's being traded has to do with information. So the more you can disseminate, the more you can dissect, the more you can pump and filter information that you want to control, you can control the flow of currency. Okay, this goes back into maritime banking law. Maxwell Jordan, you might want to Google that guy. He talks about this. Right now, we're living in that age where the banking cartel that built maritime banking laws of years old have now caught up with the information age. And now they're taxing it and regulating it. What does this mean for online gaming? Number one, because it's a play-to-pay system, the FCC can now scrutinize what websites are coming through the internet portals as it relates to all U.S. IP addresses, let's say, right? So they can begin to regulate that, which means if they don't like a certain company, they don't have to put them on. I want to say China does this already, but the U.S. now has this power. But here is why it's so crazy about what the U.S. has done, because the U.S. tends to fight over money and power. Okay, the U.S. tends to go to war when they think things are not going to trade in the value of the dollar. The dollar is still a standard to a degree, which is why the UN, a lot of companies denominate or they trade basically with the dollar bill, because of the U.S.'s abilities to kind of throw their weight militarily to ensure that you continue to trade with that U.S. dollar. So you got Bitcoin, which challenges that. But more than that, you have information, people waking up to the idea of how government uses its weight militarily, economically, to really enslave everyone. Well, you don't think you're a slave? Let me tell you something. You probably work 40 to 50 hours a week. Of that 40, let's just say a day. One day you may work 8 to 9 hours. Probably takes you an hour to drive back and forth. You're going to sleep 6 to 7 hours in that same day. You probably have children. My question to you, who do you have time for? Do you have time for your wife, your spouse, your children? The only thing you really have time for is to pay taxes. So imagine now the last loophole for these bankers to do is to completely take control over information. So you got companies like Baccarat, let's say Baccarat, which is when you actually play with Baccarat, you make your account, you're going to pay to a overseas company. Okay, the company that does all the banking for Baccarat is overseas. There's a lot of companies that you're playing with online that does their banking overseas. Well, because now it's a Title II, the internet is now a Title II format. It's not something that they're thinking about. It's something that's already happening. Because it's now a Title II, that means that in order for, say, Baccarat to have their website flow to U.S. IP addresses, number one, they have to denominate in legal U.S. tender. And guess what? Bitcoin is not U.S. legal tender. Bitcoin is exactly what they say here, a digital currency. It's not U.S. legal tender. So what does that mean? The FCC could mandate that everything that flows through U.S. portals, if there's some type of economic exchange, has to be done in U.S. legal tender, which is why I think that the Bitcoin bubble was forced so that there can be a lack of confidence in cryptocurrency, so that when this net neutrality was repealed by the FCC. Now, this isn't, now you're not going to see the effects, by the way, of all of these laws until maybe a year or 2 years. So what I'm about to tell you, you got about a year or 2 years, but you need to get busy now making money. All right. So the FCC repeals net neutrality, and it forces it in, obviously, like I said in the title too. So you have companies with like this who have online banking. So what the government now can do, and will more than likely will do, is force this company to pay a tax on every bit of its revenue if they decide to, or if they want to do business in the U.S. Okay, this is all about taxation and control, folks. This is what the FCC is about. So this is what this is about. So they're going to force Bovada to pay a tax. So let's just assume that they say, all right, you're going to pay, I don't know, 15% tax. Here's what happens when the government increases taxes on a company. The company takes those that increase in liability and they pass it to the customer. So what does that mean? That means that when you're used to paying $1 minimum, you're going to be paying $5 and $10 minimum. When people are paying $5 and $10 minimum online, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go to the brick and mortar. They're going to go to their casino where they have to pick up and drive and go. They're going to go start to play slots where they can play dollar minimums. Okay. Now, the cool thing about Roulette Recovery, he teaches a way where it beats RNG. So if you're concerned about slots, you can play his method using slots. Okay. And it's not something I've tried it. It's not something I'm just telling you. I've actually done it. All right. So, but that's the cool thing about it. So there is a way out of this. I'm going to talk about that soon. But this is what could happen. It forces Bovada to pay a tax. They're going to pass it on to you. The minimums are going to go up. All right. Forces people into the brick and mortar. Now, here's what happens on a brick and mortar. You ever been to the casino on a Saturday and it was packed? And when it was packed, you know what the minimums were? $50, $100 on a roulette table. I've seen it. If you've ever gambled, you know what I'm talking about. So you know the minimums increase when the demand is higher. That's exactly what's happening with this. Or what they could also do is say, hey, we're just not going to let Bovada in altogether. We're only going to use one company. That one company is only going to be the only online gambling company that you can use under US IP address. Okay, that's the only company that you can use. And guess what? Because everything is under the internet is now a Title II taxable service. Even when you win, there is a tax. You might just be taxed after you win if you play online. So this is some of the things that's happening that you've got to be cognizant of. It's all about the monopoly. The banking cartel, they're on the boards of the top 5, 6 information delivery companies. Verizon, AT&T, Comcast, so forth and so on. All of these people are in the same boat because to gain power, you've got to have the will of the people. To control the people, you got to control the information. So now that the FCC now has dominant power over what flows through the internet, this is what we're looking at. Okay. And now, if you don't believe me, just go and look at this. Google net neutrality online gambling and see all the number of different ads that come up. See the how will a loss of net neutrality impact online poker? It goes on and on and on. I'm telling you how it can impact it. Because it's all taxed. They could do away with Bovada. They can do away with Bitcoin. Bitcoin poses a problem to mainstream capitalism under the backlist dollar bill. Because of that, net neutrality can destroy that because it can now deem everything that flows through US IP or anything that flows through AT&T, Comcast, or anything like that that's transacted. It has to be only transacted in US legal tender, or you can be fined or imprisoned. Why? Because it's now a Title II. It's not a Title I. Title II means it's regulated. It's taxed. everything that flows through it. Okay, so this is why this is such a major big deal. Let me give you a little history about how I've come to understand maybe the direction that this is going. When I was in the banking world, I remember, this is some years ago, I was in a meeting, and when I really kind of saw the light on everything, I was in a meeting with some, we were doing a multi-million dollar, almost $1 billion loan sale. I was kind of in charge of the legal side of it. Well, there was a U.S. senator in the meeting on that transaction. It was a transaction that I actually had declined. And the moment I declined it, the vice president, I'm not going to say the bank, but the vice president of that particular bank in the Midwest stormed out of the meeting, and I heard him on the phone talking to my boss, talking about how profitable they have to be. And I was asking myself two things. Number one, why was there a senator in that meeting? Number one, why was there a U.S. senator in a banking loan sale meeting? What was that all about? And this was right before the crash. You put two and two together. This was right before the mortgage crash. What was a senator in that bank meeting for? Why did this guy storm out of the meeting and get my boss on the phone and told me to go ahead and approve almost $1 billion of banking paper that I knew was bad? Okay, why did he decide to do that? You know, you put two and two together. To me, I think it was kind of orchestrated. No, kind of orchestrated. There were a lot of people who got away with murder. It wasn't kind of anything. But to me, folks, this is getting away. This is more than murder. Do you not understand that every part of your life has everything to do with what goes through the internet? Like your doctors, everything you do, your oil change, taking your child to the hospital, all the way down to where you shop and you do your groceries. When you scan your credit card goes through the internet portal. Okay, everything is reviewed, everything is regulated. All right, so even if you're a small business, it's going to be hard for you. Even with this is all about power, domination, and control. So what do you need to do right now? Number one, whatever system that's working for you. I don't care if you've used mine, if you're using Roulette recovery. By the way, a lot of people get confused on that Roulette recovery. It's not a roulette game. It's actually a Baccarat game. But the reason he calls it Roulette recovery is because if you've ever lost money in roulette, like a lot of us have, it's the best way. I think to me too, I think is the best way to recover or make your money back. I'm gonna talk about that in just 1 second. By the way, let me just go ahead and dispel all of the trolls. Two things. Number one, like I said, I hope this doesn't happen. But understanding how banking and how these monopolies are formed, they're all underwritten by the big banks. Okay, it's the reason why they got away with the mortgage crisis. Now they've already kind of gotten away with this, but the people are going to have to, at one point, we got to stand up, because if it affects the U.S., I guarantee you it's going to affect the world, right? Because we fight over power, and information is the new power. All right, so I'm telling you, you've got to be wise. You've got to right now be making money. And I mean, go make it. And you have about a year, I would say 2 years, before you start to see the true effect of what this law has passed, what it really means, or the repeal of net neutrality, what it really means. All right. So, but anyway, going back to when I was at the bank, so the guy stormed out the meeting, and you know, it really rose huge eyebrows. Like it just made me think about really what was happening. So when I got a chance to see it from that perspective, I now see this happening, and it's a huge threat to the way we live. And like I said, you know, everything you do is now regulated. And if you are an online gambler right now, you need to be safe, but you need to be consistent as ever. You need to do all that you can to extract everything you can from these companies, anything that's online, because they can easily limit it to only one company and force you to pay taxes on that money. All right. When I say force you to pay taxes, meaning the moment you win, there is a tax coming out of it. because it's FCC, it's Title II. All right. So this is a major big deal. This is a major power move, and it's not good for you or me. We've got to stick together. So my way of helping you out is to tell you to get busy now. The reason why I promote Roulette Recovery, number one, he's one of my former students. Okay. Number two, what he developed, once you see this, I guarantee you, I'm letting you know now, it's better than the permutations. Is great, but permutations was built on martingale. Martingale is only used to save you time because you can make back $5 in 5 seconds. In the way that he teaches the roulette recovery system using Baccarat, you don't have to have large bankrolls, and even if you lose, you know, the guy, he supports you. Like, but it's really hard to even lose. It's really difficult. Like, you'll know what's going to be. You'll know why you're losing. You'll be able to see all the trends instantly. You'll know it all. This is how powerful it is. And on top of that, he signs a contract that says, you know, hey, I'm going to support you if you get down. But the reason why I support him is because it works. And if any of my students ever used anything that I taught them, and you can prove to me that it works, I will endorse you the same way, and you don't have to pay. I won't charge you a dime for it, because my thing, I'm good. Trust me, my life is great, and I am going to be great regardless. But considering that people do follow me, considering that people do take my advice on a lot of different things, I'm showing you this here right now, and I'm letting you know now is your time. Now is your time. Matt, what I do love about what Matt is doing is that he shows real money. A lot of people send me emails and they're asking me, hey, is this good? Is it not? I'm like, how much more does he need to show you? It's RNG. It's real money. It's real play. He even shows you money. He's taking out money. I mean, it's like, I don't know what more can he do. So I don't know what more to prove to you. And on top of that, he has an amazing kick butt terms and agreement that I think you need to. And by the way, if you're going to do that, read over the terms, please. Don't call me or email me about what it is. Read over the terms. If it does not make sense to you, just don't do it. I swear to God, because you will screw it up. Because it's difficult to screw up, but you have to be consistent, disciplined, all those things. But it's really difficult. Like, I haven't lost, and I don't know anybody who's been using it that's lost. So it's just difficult to lose if you can lose. So that's the reason why I'm saying, hey, take advantage of it. Take full advantage of it. If that's what you're going to do. If you're not going to do that, whatever it is that you're doing, if you're doing permutations, you're not moving beyond where you're at, I say get busy, because the dollar days that you see here on Bovada, these days are about to be gone. Okay, this playing for $1 and all this other stuff, but this is what this is what this means, folks. Google this, read these articles. I mean, they've been talking about this for a while, but this is real deal stuff, folks. Like, this is not a joke. So in closing, people, again, first of all, like I said before, if you've ever supported me, this is just my way of handing you some information and really telling you about this banking cartel that's being forced upon us, and they're regulating everything and what these regulations mean. You saw the net neutrality video that she explained. At the end, did you see how she talked about whose hand it's in? Listen, no company, I don't even do it with my companies, where when you're taxed, that tax is spread back, is given to the customer. Every company does it. So these companies, if they don't get shut down altogether, they're going to be heavily taxed. If you're doing $50 million a month in U.S. revenue, you're going to get a 25% tax. You know what's going to happen? This is going to go from $1 to $5 to $10 minimum. Easy. All right. So right now, while the getting is good, I suggest you take advantage of what Matt is doing. Okay. And I wouldn't tell you that if I didn't think it was 100. And again, if any of my students, if you got something that you think is great, I'm not going to charge you a dime. Show it to me. I'll endorse it. What Matt is doing is absolutely the next generation of anything I've seen. Okay. So let me just clear that out of the way, because a lot of people think, oh, he's doing this because he's getting a cut and this, that, and the other. And even if I was getting a cut, it doesn't matter. If you have something that's this good, I'm letting you know. Call me, let me look at it. If I like it, I'll talk about it. And you don't owe me a dime. I'll take whatever blessing you give me, but you don't owe me anything. Okay? Because you guys are, I mean, I wasn't even expecting you guys to take hold to permutations the way you did. And I'll say this, permutations is still great, but it's about a time-saving measure. You can't play that all day long. You can't even play stocks that way. It's built off of trade. It's built off of day trading. So for those who have ever wondered, permutations is built off of day trading. If you understand how stocks work, permutations work the same way. It's based upon probability. All right. So the more in terms of probability you can get, the better you're going to be. The reason I used martingale was because most people have jobs, and you shouldn't have a lot of times to be sitting there trying to gamble, which is why I always used to say, hey, if you're a gambler, this is not for you. Okay. But Matt's system is much different. It's just freaking phenomenal. I mean, it's something that you can do all day, every day. And I suggest you get busy. If you don't do any of what I'm telling you, whatever you're doing right now that's working for you online, you don't have long. Mark my words. I hope I'm lying. I really do hope that I'm lying, but I don't think that I am. All right. And I'm not going to hold you guys much longer. I'm just here to let you know, be vigilant, stay on top of the game. Don't let the game stay on top of you. This guy's former Verizon, I think, executive. Oh God, y'all really don't know. This gets deeper. This gets so much deeper than just online gambling. I mean, this is so deep. I'm not gonna even get into all that. I'm just letting you guys know that this is going to affect you. You don't have longer. I'm gonna give it a year, but 2 years most, before you see how this repeal really is going to affect you. They never instantly shove it down your throat. They do it over time. I'm just letting you know now. The time is now to do whatever you're gonna be doing online. If you're gonna make $1 million playing online, you need to be making it now. Okay. Be wise about what you do. Make wise choices. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. I'm a 100% guy. I only work with 100% people. I'm not going to tell you anything that I wouldn't do. All right. So, and as I always say, if you think it's illegit, if you think anything I'm telling you is a joke or it's a lie, do your research, do your own calculations. All right. Do your own research, do your own calculation, and find out what I'm talking about if it's true or not. It's all over the internet. So research it yourself. When it comes to certain systems, think about what it is that you're doing. You know, if a person's showing you a system and they only show you in practice mode, why are you spending $2,000 on that? You know, I think the most wisest thing that I've ever seen was somebody that said, we'll split the deal with you, meaning you pay to play. You know, I think he charges like some money up front, but that's the money he uses if you jack up your bankroll. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that, and you don't have much time. So, but if you do have a system that's, like I said, if you got something and it works, you were a student of mine, and you want me to talk about it, there ain't no charge here. So just hit me up. I'm here to help us all win. All right, I'm winning. I want everybody, whoever supported me, to win. All right. So with that said, folks, that's all I got here today. The Roulette Recovery, I think you can go to rouletterecovery.net or .com. I think it's .net, if I'm not mistaken. Rouletterecovery.net. Personally, I don't do anything. I just play by myself at this point. So I'm not really, I'll promote anybody's stuff if you got something good. But personally, I just kind of play by myself. I am in the process of revamping the New Life Lessons magazine. There was a guy by the name of Iron Davis who almost stole the domain. And we had some great people. Remember, I don't know if you guys know the guy Ernie Johnson from TNT. Well, that's the one of the guys that we were going after to put on the cover of it. And so we were like in the process of it. Hadn't went through. Hopefully it all goes through. But he's a phenomenal guy with an amazing story. So I'm in the process of building that brand back. We have a lawsuit going on with this guy. He literally we stole our domain, and now we're in the process of getting it back. So that's what's happening on my side. And of course, I use a lot of money that I play with to fund everything that I do. And you could do the exact same thing. You have to be wise. You've got to be patient, but you got to be consistent. Don't get into anything that can't be proven. You know, even when I did permutations, I showed live games of exactly how I would play, and I won. So it's not something that wasn't proven. Oftentimes we get to losing because we put our own foot in our own butts by being undisciplined. We make $100 and we think we need to make $1 million in that same day, and that's where you end up losing. You know, but you know, you have to look at things over time. Anyway, I'm getting too preachy. Like I said before, whether you take any advice of mine from a strategy or anything, just know this: whatever you're doing, I don't care what it is that you're doing online, mine's, Matt's, Henry's, the millionaire guy, whoever it is that you're using, I personally think you don't have much time and you need to get busy. So with that said, have an amazing new year. I'm excited about 2018. I'm going to continue to provide more insight and information on the things that I know, things that I think that will help you. And again, like I said, if you have something that you think is great, send me an email. And if I think it's good enough, I'll support you. Okay, just same way I support Matt. All right, so with that said, you guys take care, and I'll be back. Take care.